Welcome into AZ Audibles. I'm Haley Stasiak, and we've got the Audibles crew, Eric Sorensen and Jordan Ham. We are in the heart of the summer. The temperatures are heating up. There's a lot of off-season activity going on with practices and summer passing leagues. What kind of benefits are we seeing to an individual player with this?
Well, I think the number one benefit is that college coaches can go out and see you, whether that's spring ball or summer ball. There have been quite a few guys throughout the entire state that haven't even played a down of varsity football yet, and they already have big-time offers. Noah Nelson from Williamsfield. Just last week, ASU offered him. DeAndre Henry over at Mountain Point. The theme seems to be offensive linemen, these big-bodied guys. Avery Demmons picked up a couple of offers over at Higley as well. So that's just a great thing for not only coaches to go to the campus, but at these camps, they're able to just get up close, take a look at them, see what kind of style of play they thrive in, and then offer them.
The key word is definitely exposure. You have a guy like Seth Robinson who went to Chaparral, transferred to Saguaro, was a track athlete, sort of unknown as a football player. He shows up at Saguaro, and the first day he's discovered by Iowa State after Jason Mons moved him to outside linebacker. He now has an Iowa State offer, he has a University of Arizona offer, and he's still sort of like an unknown, but he is discovered, and he was discovered in spring.
Overall, what are your kind of the thoughts of these passing league camps? Benefits, or maybe not so much of a fan?
I think they can be beneficial, and the first name that popped into my head was Zach Shepard at Williamsfield. Last year out of ASU, we saw him burst onto the scene, young quarterback with a veteran group of receivers and Justice Stokes, Max Fine, and you saw that continuity that they built in the summer carry over all the way into the 5A state championship game when Williamsfield won it all.
I think there are plenty of benefits with 7-on-7 with these big men competitions. Definitely getting on the same page with your receivers. There's a lot of chemistry that goes into it. But I think that some of the negatives come on the defensive side of the ball. You have these linebackers and guys in the secondary that are taught from day one to go make plays, go 1,000 miles an hour, big hits, make plays. And now the helmets are coming off, the pads are coming off, and they still want you to play hard, but then pull up at the very end. And we've seen there are some elite athletes here in the state, some big-bodied guys that are just like heat-seeking missiles. So when you're going that speed and you're that big, sometimes it's tough to slow down. So that can cause some injuries. And obviously no coach wants injuries, but especially in the off season, that's a premium. So I think overall, I think it's a good thing, but you definitely have to take that into account when you're participating in these activities.
And another thing following up on that is at the disadvantage of the defense, and you and I saw it out at ASU when Chaparral was taking on Mountain Point. Jack Miller, the Chaparral quarterback, went through not only his first, second, third, fourth, sometimes fifth or sixth progression. In a real game, when you have rushing linemen and pads and helmets, there's no way the quarterback's going to be allowed to sit back there for 4 or 5 seconds to go through all those reads.
Well, and I think another thing with that is how much of these camps these kids are doing. And I mean, some of these schools are going out every single weekend and doing this, and the heat, it's getting hot, and just the exhaustion thing, I think that's something coaches may need to keep an eye on with that as the month of July comes around with practices with that. So I think just with the injury stuff and making sure that they're not getting too exhausted. But in a team aspect, what are your thoughts on that? Is there a benefit with the teams kind of coming together and getting a glimpse of each other for the fall?
I think certainly in terms of the competition, you can definitely see even, in the sense of just last week we were out there, I saw Cienega, Jamari Joyner looks like he's bulked up. So guys now kind of know that, he might be able to pack a little bit more of a punch. You can see those guys that, come out and certainly have added weight or, might have added some speed to their game and things like that. So certainly you have to take it with a grain of salt. This isn't, the pads aren't on, you're not making the big hits, but you can certainly get a better idea of where teams and players in particular stand.
And it's free time for coaches and players to work in, I know they're not real game situations, but they're pseudo game situations. You're going to see how the receivers are running their routes. If the quarterback's timing with those targets need more practice, because speaking of more practice, I mean, we're now almost into the stage of extended, unlimited practice for these coaches, and we've talked about it on Audibles. Sometimes some of these coaches are just going to shy away from it and say, you know what, we don't want these kids burning out. I bet other coaches that didn't like what they saw in these passing and spring workouts might extend the summer a little bit for their teams.
That's what we've got for you this week on AZ Audibles. Be sure to check out Eric's zone read and more of our high school football content on sports360az.com. We'll see you next time.